Жаңарудың басы жер анамын. Бүгін менің тоң кеудемді көктемнің жылы шуағы жібітіп, тұла бойымда тіршілік оянуда. Ұлыстың ұлы күні әз наурыз келді. Бұл тек табиғаттың ғана емес, сананың да шағы.
Just as nature renews itself, the knowledge of humanity also requires constant renewal. Your gathering today, education, research, and innovation, is like a new seed sown in my fertile soil. The language you teach is the great bridge that carries the seeds of knowledge to every corner of the world and unites global thought. In a rapidly changing world, transforming the minds of the younger generation and harmonizing technology with tradition is the noblest mission.
Көктем лебімен бірге басталған жаңа бастамаларыңызға жер ана ретінде ақ батамды берейін. Білімнің шамшырағын жаққандар, жаңа күннен жақсы үміт күтіп баққандар. Ізденіс пен зерттеулерің жемісті болсын, инновация мен жаңашылдыққа өрісің толсын, үйреткен тілдерің жаһанға жол ашсын, ұлттың рухы озық ғылыммен жалғассын.
Шәкірттерің бәйгеден озып, биікке сапасын, еңбектерің жана берсін, алға бассын, ұлыс оң болсын, ақ мол болсын, жаңару мен жаңғыруға арналған ғылым тойы басталсын.
Flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drowsing on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. It's a new life for me, and I feel it goes. I'm feeling goes. Fishing at the sea, you know how I feel. Rivers running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on a tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling goes. Dragonfly down the sun, you know what I mean. Butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when the day's done, you know how I feel. And this whole world and a new world, and this whole world for me. And I'm feeling goes. Go, Rahmet!
Алдарыңызда өнер көрсеткен номер 111 орта мектептің ағылшын тілі пәні мұғалімі Кожаков Нұрболат. Бүгін құрметті қонақтар, қадірлі ұстаздар, ғалымдар мен білім беру саласының көшбасшылары.
Happy Nowruz, the great day of the nation, which awakens life and warms Mother Earth with the gentle rays of spring. May this new year bring happiness, prosperity, abundance, and harmony to every home.
Халқымыз үшін Наурыз жаңару мен жаңғырудың, тазару мен өсудің символы. Біздің бүгінгі бас қосуымызда осынау ұлы мерекенің рухымен терең үндесіп жатыр. Себебі білім беру саласы да үнемі жаңаруда, тың ізденістер мен трансформацияны талап етуде.
And so, it's our great honor to welcome you to the opening ceremony of the National Scientific and Practical Conference, Education, Research and Innovation, Transforming English Language Teaching in a Changing World.
Алғашқы сөз Астана қаласы білім басқармасының жалпы орта білім беру бөлімінің басшысы Амангелдиева Асыл Амангелдіқызына беріледі. Қошеметтеріңіз.
Армысыздар, қадірлі қонақтар, және осы бүгінгі конференцияға қатысушылар. Ең алдымен баршаңызды осы өзіміздің ұлтымыздың, қазағымыздың үлкен мерекесі жаңа жылы ұлыстың ұлы күнімен құттықтағым келіп отыр. Баршаңыздың отбасыларыңызға амандық тілеймін. Бастарыңызға амандық тілеймін. Әрқашан еңбектеріңіз жемісті болсын дегім келеді. Одан кейін бүгінгі күні біздің үлкен конференцияға шет елден келіп отқан Қазақстан деген біздің кең байтақ елге ұлттық құндылықтарға бай, мәдениетке бай, өте керемет, қазбалы, пайдалы заттарға бай. Сонымен қатар жаңа өздеріңіз барысында көріп жатсыздар, қандай керемет қол өнерге бай, өнерге бай Қазақстан деген елге қош келдіңіздер дегім келеді. Бүгін міне осы ұлыстың ұлы күнімен тұспа-тұс келіп жатқан білім, зерттеу және инновация өзгермелі әлемдегі ағылшын тілін оқытуды өзгерту тақырыбындағы республикалық конференция өтіп жатыр. Ең алдымен осы іс-шараны ұйымдастырған әрине біздің әдістемелік орталық, білім басқармасы және де осы іс-шараны өткізуге жоғары деңгейде осы қонақтарымызды қарсы алып, қолдау білдіріп жатқан 111-ші мектептің басшысы Данара Мейрамбековна және осы мектептің ұжымдарына үлкен алғысымды білдіргім келеді. Бүгінгі конференцияға жалғыз елорда ұстаздар ғана емес, бұл жерге осы Қазақстан Республикасының барлық өңірінен 19 елден біздің ұстаздарымыз келіп отыр. Енді ағылшын тілі мұғалімдерінің өздеріңіз білесіздер, бұл жай ғана маман емес, бұл біздің жастарымызды жаһандық өркениетке бастайтын интеллектуалды тұлға. Сіздердің үйреткен білімдеріңізбен біздің оқушыларымыз әлемдік деңгейде танылып жүр. Ол ұстаздар сіздердің үлкен еңбектеріңіздің жемісі. Сондықтан бүгінгі қатысып отқан ағылшын тілі мұғалімдеріне ерекше алғысымды білдіргім келеді. Бүгінгі күні Астана қаласында бізде 1689 ағылшын тілі маманы бар. Енді ол кісілердің әртүрлі әрине дәрежелері бар. Дегенмен де осы біздің әдістемелік орталықтың қолдауымен осы 2024 жылдан бастап ақш пен осы ағылшын тілін дамытуда сондай бір ынтымақтастық орнатып, бір жақсы үлкен жыл сайын семинарлар, конференциялар, мастер-класстар бәрін өткізіліп жүр. Осының бәрі осы білім басқармасы, әдістемелік орталық, жалпы осы білім саласындағы әрбір ұйымның өзара ынтымақтасу жолындағы жұмыстар деп ойлаймын. Сондықтан бүгінгі іс-шараға үлкен сәттілік тілегім келеді. Сонымен қатар баяндамашыларға, осы жан-жақтан келген біздің ұстаздарымыз бүгінгі конференциядан үлкен бір өздеріне білім алып, өздерінің жаңағы іс тәжірибесін кеңейту мақсатында бір жақсы ақпарат алады деген сенімдемін. Және де бүгінгі әрине мүмкіндік болса барлық республика бойынша ағылшын тілі мұғалімдерін жинауға болушы еді. Дегенмен де бүгін енді әрбір өңірден енді өздері жіберіп отқан біздің өкілдер бар. Сондықтан барған жерлеріңізге осы бүгінгі іс тәжірибені сіздерді ұжымдарыңызбен бірлесіп талқылап, осы әрі қарай ағылшын тілін дамытуда қандай да бір жаңашылдық қосатынына үлкен сенім артамын. Сондықтан баршаңызға тағы да мереке құтты болсын дегім келеді. Және де бүгінгі іс-шараға үлкен сәттілік тілегім келеді. Рахмет баршаңызға.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for your speech, and I want to translate to our international guest. So firstly, she says that about thanks for the honored guest for coming. The exposition you see is full of Kazakh national style. It means that we want to show you our Kazakh nationality, our expression, how we can express ourselves, yeah? And we express our gratitude to the Astana Methodological Center for organizing this Republicans conference, firstly, and teachers from 90 countries have come here, and these people are highly intellectual individuals, and our students are at a global level. It means that we have a lot of opportunities to upgrade their skills also, yeah? And you see that here we have 1,689 specialties of different levels took part in this event. And cooperation has been established since 20 and 24. And also we wish great success to today's event. May the teachers who come from different places gain valuable knowledge and share their expressions. And she believes they will gain useful information. Thank you so much.
Құрметті қауым, алда сіздерді мазмұнды пленарлық мәжіліс, тың ізденістерге толы шеберлік сыныптар мен қызу пікірталастар күтіп тұр.
By uniting our efforts, we pave the way for new beginnings, positive ideas and bright changes. Just as the great holiday of Nowruz symbolizes renewal, unity and hope for a better future.
Әз Наурызбен тұспа-тұс келген бұл алқалы жиналысымыз берекелі де жемісті болғай. Рұқсат етсеңіздер конференциямыздың пленарлық отырысын бастайық.
Wishing you all a truly successful and inspiring session. With that being said, we now hand over the reins to our moderator, Kasenova Albina Bakhbekovna.
Hello, dear colleagues, and we are very glad to see you and welcome you at our kind of first, in this year, let's say, annual conference for English teachers, which we wish to make as the little tradition for English teachers in Astana, to hold this conference every March or April, so teachers know, Astana teachers know that every spring we have our Astana conference. So this is, thank you for coming and supporting. We see very many teachers from Astana, hopefully from other cities as well, and our international guests today. We are starting today this conference with our international guests, welcoming Lyudmila Zarina, a teacher from Estonia, and hopefully we will learn more international experience from Estonia, from Tallinn city, how teachers teach languages in Estonia. Miss Lyudmila, the floor is yours.
Уважаемые коллеги, прошу прощения, я пока слово Людмиле не дам, возьму его сама. Меня зовут Юлия Вратских, мы с Людмилой коллеги, мы работаем в одной школе. Я просто немножко объясню, почему такая тема и почему мы об этом говорим. Мы хотим с вами сегодня поделиться размышлениями о предметной интеграции. Почему эта тема актуальна, хотя она не нова. Например, в Эстонии она опять заиграла новыми красками, приобрела, ну скажем так, второе дыхание в связи с тем, что в Эстонии произошла реформа в образовании. И в прошлом учебном году все ученики первых и четвертых классов перешли на единый язык обучения эстонский, государственный. До этого момента наши ребята могли учиться на эстонском языке. Были школы, которые работали только на русском языке, и были школы, которые работали и на русском, и на эстонском. И вот в прошлом году у нас единый язык обучения государственный. Получается, что на сознание детей пошла большая нагрузка, необходимо усваивать знания, различные понятия на неродном для них языке. И, естественно, каким-то образом нужно учеников поддержать. И вот для того, чтобы всю информацию усваивать, нужно очень хорошо знать язык. Исключительно на уроках языка, отдельно от других предметов, изучить язык так хорошо, чтобы потом во всем разбираться, проблематично. Поэтому нужна интеграция. И моя коллега немножечко расскажет о том, каким образом в нашей школе предметная интеграция происходит. Ключевым предметом является, в принципе, эстонский язык, а к нему подтягиваются другие предметы. Но в зависимости от школьной ступени, от класса, мы выбираем еще вспомогательные предметы. Поэтому я дам слово своей коллеге, она представится и все вам расскажет.
Tere hommikust! Доброе утро, уважаемые коллеги! И меня зовут Людмила Зарина, я учитель эстонского языка в школе, которая до проведенной реформы была школой с русским языком обучения. Начать хотелось бы с очень важной для меня цитаты. Задача учителя заключается в том, чтобы сделать учебный процесс в классе максимально качественным, опираясь как на теоретические знания, так и на практический опыт. Так что же такое межпредметная интеграция? Если вы посмотрите на слайд, то вы видите странную аббревиатуру. На эстонском языке это называется LAK. Lõimitud aine- ja keeleõpe. Если перевести на русский, интегрированное обучение предмету и языку. Если вы обратите внимание, то логотип состоит из деталей пазла, которые составляют единое целое. Так вот, межпредметная интеграция представляет собой создание целостной системы из взаимодополняющих и гармонично сочетающихся частей. Иными словами, это когда темы разных предметов изучаются во взаимосвязи. То есть один предмет дополняет и объясняет другой. И, конечно, ученики применяют знания из разных областей одновременно. Почему это важно? Это важно, потому что современное образование направлено не только на передачу знаний по отдельным предметам, но и на формирование целостной картины мира. Ведь в реальной жизни мы не делим проблемы на математику, биологию или литературу. Все взаимосвязано. Именно поэтому важным направлением педагогики является межпредметная интеграция. Например, на уроке истории дети изучают эпоху Наполеона. а на литературе – произведения, на физике – изобретения, на музыке – композиторов того времени и так далее, и так далее. На математике рассчитывают скорость, а на физике применяют это для решения задач о движении. Или, например, проект по экологии объединяет биологию, географию и химию. Так для чего же нужна межпредметная интеграция? Во-первых, это формирование целостной картины мира. Учащиеся начинают понимать, что знания взаимосвязаны, а мир – это единая система. Во-вторых, повышается интерес к обучению, ведь интегрированные уроки делают обучение более живым и практичным. Также развивается критическое мышление, ведь решение комплексных задач требует анализа, сравнения и умения применять знания в новых ситуациях. Подготовка к реальной жизни, ведь в жизни и профессии редко используются знания только из одной области. Ну и, конечно же, происходит развитие универсальных учебных навыков, таких как коммуникация, исследовательские навыки, умение работать в команде. Если говорить о преимуществах, то сторонники программы интегрирования, межпредметной интеграции говорят о том, что это глубокое понимание материала, это развитие логического мышления и, конечно, повышение мотивации. Но не обходится и без трудностей, ведь необходимо создать условия для командной работы между учителями, а мы с вами знаем, что не всегда это получается. Сложность планирования, поскольку в разных предметах зачастую одни и те же темы проходят в разное время. Это значит, что учителю нужно пересматривать свой рабочий план. И, конечно же, нехватка материалов, это приводит к дополнительной подготовке и работе. Таким образом, межпредметная интеграция – это важное направление современного образования. Она помогает учащимся видеть взаимосвязь наук, формирует целостное мировоззрение и готовит детей к реальной жизни. Ведь в условиях быстро меняющегося мира именно интеграция знаний становится одним из ключевых факторов качественного образования. Немножко хочу показать некоторые примеры и принципы, которые используются именно в нашей школе. 1 равно 1. Это значит, что один учитель использует всегда только один язык. Обучение ведется исключительно на целевом языке. Мы не переводим, мы создаем условия для понимания. Это контекст, визуализация, как угодно, но мы не переходим на перевод. Иногда случаются интересные ситуации. Например, беседую с коллегой, учителем английского языка. Проходят мимо дети и говорят «Терепете», «Здравствуй, учитель». И тут же «Hello, teacher». В английском языке мы применяем те же принципы. Следующий значок – лестница. Это значит, что мы идем от простого к сложному. Понимание достигается через работу с контекстом, а не через прямой перевод. 2 плюс 2 может быть 5. Ошибка не всегда плохо. Ошибка является ресурсом развития. Ошибки мы не критикуем, но мы рассматриваем их как естественную часть обучения. Все делается для того, чтобы дети не боялись применять язык, даже делая ошибки. И очень большую роль в нашей школе играют говорящие стены. При помощи говорящих стен мы поддерживаем языковую среду, которая создается не только через общение, но и через пространство класса и школы. Говорящие стены – это различные плакаты, схемы, ключевые фразы, словари, образцы предложений, модели предложений, которые постоянно находятся в поле зрения учащихся и помогают им выражать свои мысли на целевом языке. Принцип 20-80. Это значит, что активность ученика на уроке выше активности учителя. Учитель – организатор процесса, ученик же – активный участник. В условиях обучения на неродном языке особенно важно, чтобы дети говорили больше, чем учитель. И именно через активное использование языка формируются устойчивые навыки. И последняя иконка – это сотрудничество. В нашей школе активно используется групповое обучение. Не нужно это путать с групповыми работами. Итак, групповое обучение повышает вовлеченность учащихся и создает больше возможностей для использования языка. А также это способствует активному взаимодействию учащихся, развитию коммуникативных навыков и формированию ответственности. Далее приведены некоторые примеры организации говорящих стен в нашей школе, которые служат языковой поддержкой для учащихся. На данном слайде приведены примеры говорящих стен из кабинетов природоведения, биологии, географии. На следующем слайде вы видите образец говорящих стен из кабинетов эстонского языка. Здесь представлены, на правой картинке представлены фразы для выражения своего мнения. И здесь также представлены фразы, предложения, которые у нас во всех кабинетах есть. Например, такие как «Mul on küsimus», у меня есть вопрос. Если ребенок постоянно видит во всех кабинетах, где он находится, такие предложения, такую помощь, то он не будет бояться их использовать. Здесь я прервусь, потому что далее идет практическая часть, которая пройдет немного позже. Спасибо. Айта!
Thank you so much, Ludmila. Just to give some context for our international guests, I think I should explain why the experience of Estonian colleagues is very interesting for us, for Kazakhstani people, because in Estonia they have language immersion, so-called language immersion program, which they are trying to shift from to full usage of Estonian language, which is very interesting for Kazakhstani people. So that's why the colleague from Estonia, she was sharing experience. I think the method is something close to content and language integrated learning, CLIL. So they're trying to use talking walls, no translation rules, and this kind of methods and techniques, which is very interesting for language teachers and maybe first language teachers, as Kazakh language teachers, how to shift from to full usage of Kazakh language as a state language in Kazakhstan. Thank you so much, Ludmila, for sharing your experience with us. Actually, in Kazakhstan, we also had such reforms as trilingual language policy, which was in 2016 in Kazakhstan. So that's why many teachers here who are sitting here, they went through training courses, TKT CLIL courses, they took examinations, so many teachers are in the context here. So they actually were in the part of these reforms. So thank you so much for Estonian colleagues, and that was actually practical examples how another country also did similar reforms in their countries. Thank you. And the next speaker is associate professor from from Nazarbayev University, Graduate School of Education, Professor Sulushash Kirimkulova. Professor Sulushash will be sharing her presentation about teacher research, which is another interesting topic which is being very topical right now in Kazakhstan. How teachers could be researchers? Is it only for researchers, or teachers also could be researchers? Miss Solushash? So, Miss Solushash, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I didn't expect that it would be very close. So, kind of repeat.
Miss Solushash, you can go downstairs if you feel it's more convenient, or you can stay here.
Maybe here.
Ah, okay.
Like the barrier between me and the audience, okay? So this way we are closer to each other.
Да, можно что-то брать, я вообще не люблю барьеры. Вам или что? Thank you. First of all, greetings, dear teachers. Бүгін ерекше күн. Қандай күн? Қасиетті Рамазан айын ең соңғы күн. Оқылған дуаларың, жасаған жақсылықтарың, тілеген тілектерің Алланың құлағына шалынып орындалсын. Алдымызда біздің ұлысты ұлы күніміз Наурыз. Құтты болсын Наурыз, Наурыздан Наурызға шейін жете берейік, аспанымыз ашық болсын. Okay, so I was told that I need to speak in English. That's why I will talk to you in English, okay? So my topic is from classroom practice to knowledge creation, developing teachers' research capacity through action research and lesson study. A few words about myself. Do you recognize this lady? So actually, I'm now currently an associate professor of Graduate School of Education at Nazarbayev University, but before I came to Nazarbayev University back in 2010, this year it's 15 years, imagine that I'm working at this university. Before that, I was like you, teacher of English, teaching general English, professional English, academic English, IELTS, TOEFL, and so on, conducting trainings in teacher methodology. But since I came to Nazarbayev University, I teach in English. I teach for master and PhD students, supervise their thesis and conduct lectures on different subjects related to education. What I want to say, you know, I studied actually my career from a school teacher back in 1973. For 3 years I was a school teacher. Then I moved to university and I started as a lab assistant. And from lab assistant I went on to the chair, to the dean, to the academic department head, to the director of linguistics. And so about 22 years out of my nearly 50 years is connected with administrative job along with the teaching. And now I found myself at university, at Nazarbayev University, one of the leading universities, and I was wondering what helped me to grow from an ordinary secondary school teacher to one of the leading scholars in Kazakhstan and actually knows also somehow internationally. That's why I want to share the motto that drives me. Who if not me? When if not now? Even in 90s, yes, there were, when we didn't have salaries, remember for months, those who are from the Soviet time, you know this 90s, yes, no salary, no light, no electricity, nothing. And many teachers left the profession. And I had some people say, why don't you leave with you can go to business, you can work in some other companies. I said, no, who if not me? When if not now? So I stayed in profession. And I recommend you also. You have chosen the best ever profession in the world. And I want you to stay in this profession, whatever happens. So I want to start my presentation with a question, whether you agree or not. So everybody knows that we need to bring research into teaching, right? But along with this, do you agree that we should not only implement research, but we also need to produce research? Who agrees? Raise your hands. Ah, not everybody agrees. Who does not agree? Can you raise also? Ah, you're afraid to raise. Come on. There is freedom. No one will penalize you if you say, no, I do not agree. Okay? So, but I'm happy that you agree. And then if you agree, why? Why research for teachers matter? Why you as teachers need to make research? Why? Can anyone share?
Because with the help of the research, we can develop our lessons. First of all, it's our practice.
Thank you. Any other ideas?
Because we can solve problems.
Sure. Any other ideas?
Can improve our educational system or the process of learning and teaching. We can improve it, some results we can have.
Sure, you can contribute to the development of not only your own teaching, but in whole to educational system. These are great ideas. Right. Definitely improve. And definitely we can improve our teaching and we want to be good teachers, right? Yes, and we cannot be marginalized. If we do not go along with the life, along with the students, we will be marginalized. That's why we need to improve our teaching. We need to strengthen our agency, as we say, yeah? Our professional agency. We have to improve the quality. The quality is not tangible. We cannot touch it as, oh, this is a good quality. Yes, but the quality of teaching is not that easy to ensure and to evaluate. So, enhances student learning. And we are happy when our students are learning, when they are growing, when they are getting some diplomas, when they are somewhere on the top and say, oh, this is my lecture, so it bridges this research and practice gap, yeah? Theory and practice gap. This is what we are penalized. This is always, theory is somewhere here, practice is somewhere here, but research can help to bridge this gap. And actually, no, when I teach students, I show this triangle. On the top of this triangle, who are? Policy makers, ministry, principals. They talk down and say, go and do this, right? They push down reforms. And these reforms, who are implementing these reforms? We as teachers implement. And who is doing research? Some other people doing research. Do they take into account what is being done in classroom? Do they take into account what is being done in the classroom? Does anybody explain you what to do when the reform bumps on your head? And you say, go and implement. So there's miscommunication in this triangle. Policymakers, researchers, and practitioners, educators, as you are. And that's why we need to make these communication channels. And you as researchers, as teachers, shall not wait when researcher will bring you research and teach you how to teach. You can do it yourselves. And this is what my presentation is about today. But what is the problem with teacher research? Why do we raise it? Are you pushed to do research? Raise your hands who is pushed by the principal or by some other body say, you need to do research. Raise your hands who is pushed. Yes, she is pushing because the principal is pushing, because the policymakers say, go, teachers need to do research. And that's why, again, these instructions come from above and say, teachers need to do research nowadays. They need to be researchers. Poor teacher who is dealing with lots of stuff says, why should I do research? I'm already fed up with teaching and all other extracurricular stuff, right? So what is the problem with the research? You are expected to implement, whether you want it or not. Again, the policy says the Methodist or the director or the principal, they say you have to do it, okay? But in fact, do you often do it? Unfortunately not. Research that we conduct with our students shows that research is not conducted that often at schools as it should be. There are limited opportunities, right? Educational reforms, as I told you, ignore what is going. They're just bumping it and saying, go and do it. But what is going on the classroom level? No evidence for this. Oh, sorry. And professional development. You go to professional development courses, but how often what you teach, what you are trained at professional courses is far from what is going on in classrooms. Unfortunately, this often happens, right? And that's why, for example, if we take an example, curriculum reform, we can name some of the reforms. For example, competency-based curriculum. You know, this reform, trilingual education policy. You know, assessment systems updated, SOR, and so on, right? Digitalization of education, AI in education. So these are the reforms, okay? And people say go and implement these reforms. But how often do you do this? The problem is that you endure challenges, right? Raise your hands who really endure challenges. Oh, translating these reforms into effective practice. Raise your hands, please. Don't be afraid. I myself have challenges sometimes with implementing what I want, right? Because of different barriers, or because maybe I don't know that well how to do this research. That may be the issues. So how we can bridge this gap? The pressure from above, the need from the students, the need from your personal maybe insights and need, and the reality. So research. You as teachers can bridge this gap if you start creating something through research. So how can you generate knowledge? How can you do it? And I will not tell you today something new. I already know that our teachers in Kazakhstan do this lesson study, right? Raise your hands, who knows what lesson study is? The majority is. Who knows what action research is? The majority knows. Practitioner inquiry. So these are all stuff, all the issues that are now in Kazakhstani education, right? And that's why you can generate knowledge by using these research approaches. And there is a kind of a conceptual framework. What your teacher research can be done through. First of all, reflection. How often do you do reflection? Yeah? I asked when I conducted trainings, I asked teachers, how often do you leave the classroom and say, oh, бүгін жақсы өтті класста? Сабағым жақсы өтті, so my class went well. And there were only 3-5 students working, talking out of 20 students, but you were satisfied. Even, yes? And how many students leave the classroom? Не спросили меня. Yes, I was not asked. So the FIP teacher is happy. But in reality, what do we have at the end of the day? Within 18 years of teaching English, of learning English, at the end of the day, what is the percentage of those who can function in English? 10-15%. Why? Teaching 8 years or 10 years and still having that lesson. Because we are satisfied with 3-5 students working there. Because students are satisfied. So that's why you need to reflect every time from your class. Was it good? Was it not? What was not good? If you reflect, then you start asking questions. Why this was silent? Why half of my students did not participate? Why they did not come prepared for my classroom? Why? You start asking questions. Then you start to looking for evidence. Then you start to implementing. Then you start collaborating. So when you do all this stuff, you will be a professional. You will be a smart teacher. You will be a star teacher. Okay? So you, remember, you as teachers, you are not only teachers, you are knowledge creators. Never ever before in my teaching practice in the Soviet time, we were considered as knowledge creators. We just fulfilled what was coming from above. But now, no. No, you are creators of knowledge. Вы создатели знаний. В ваших руках создание новых знаний. Здесь несколько есть. There are some examples that are being conducted. I will not stop on this, but yes, I will not again stop much on definitions of what action research is. I just provided 2 examples. There are many more of this, but actually the major point of this is that it is a systematic progressive process aimed at improving your teachers, aimed and done by the teachers for the teachers, done at the classroom level. So the key characteristics, I think that you know this. I will just remind of this, yeah? Because the majority raise hands knowing what action research is. So it's a cyclical process. It's ongoing. You plan, you act, you observe, you reflect. And then again, you plan, you observe, you reflect, and so on. It's practical focus. If, for example, traditional research is just create some theory, here it's just practical solutions. You have a problem, you do action research, you have a solution for your problem. It's immediate, practical solution. It's participatory and collaborative because it involves teachers, communities, students, and all this stuff. So it's collaborative and it's reflective because you as practitioners will reflect on what you have done. And based on your reflections, you will see what to improve further, what to do to make it even better. It has cycle. It is a cyclical research process, and there are 4 cycles. First of all, you start with the problem. So what is the problem? You know, our students, when they choose the topics, each of our students has to write a dissertation. And they choose a topic and said, I want to study this problem. I said, and what investigate this topic? And I asked, what is the problem with this topic? It's just nobody studied it. I said, but maybe nobody studied it because there is no need in it. So we request our student to find out the problem. What is the problem that pushes you to study, to investigate this problem? That's why you're also, not just, что бы мне таким заняться, какой бы action research сделать, да, с потолка сидеть, сосать, не надо. Проблемы каждый день у нас на уроках, согласитесь? Каждый день проблемы. Вы просто вытащите их. So pull out the problem. So you have to identify the problem. Then you plan an action. So what I need to do to deal with this problem? Then you implement this. You observe, you collect data, you analyze data, and then you reflect and revise and see what went well, what not. Okay? And this is a cyclical process of action research. Some example questions. For example, yes? How does formative assessment affect student engagement? Or how can artificial intelligence tools support writing development? Or how to support multilingual students in trilingual education, and so on. These are just sample examples, but I said, you derive your questions from your own practice. Okay? I provided you one example with this. It's detailed practice, or it's detailed, I will not read all there, you will read please, but the context. You know that in many Kazakhstani schools, it's still grammar translation method prevailing, yes? Though many teachers understand that we need to move to communicative approach to teaching, but still it is grammar. Present perfect tense is form, blah, 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 blah. But when it goes to speaking, go and function, the student cannot function. Yes? So when the teachers observed it, they decided the problem, yes? And then they identified the problem. Students rarely spoke English voluntarily. Classroom discussions were dominant by a few confident students. Many learners relied on memorized answers. Pair work often shifted into Kazakh and Russian. Recognize this situation? I'm more than sure that in many Kazakhstani schools, the situation like this takes place, right? And then they put the research questions. How can task-based learning activities increase students' confidence and participation in English-speaking activities? So the problem, the question raised out of the problem. And then what is the strategy? How to deal with this problem? The teachers from that school, they decided, invented a few activities, role-play situations, problem-solving tasks, and information gap activities. I do not stop on each of them, but you can see them, yes? You can create others depending on what your research question is. What were the results? As a result of this action intervention, teachers say, wow, students' participation in English discussions increased up to 30-40% just in 4 weeks. This is impressive figures. Oral fluency and confidence improved. Higher student engagement. More students started to be engaged. Not only 3-5 students, but more in the class. Students also reported. They say, "Oh, our confidence in speaking English increased." They started to enjoy the class more than they did before. And what was the impact? The impact that teachers redesigned their EFL lessons to prioritize communicative competence rather than grammar-focused instruction. They decided to include at least one speaking task in every lesson, prioritize communication over grammatical accuracy, and use authentic topics. This was the action plan, the cyclical action plan. So some practical tips that you can maybe take out of this. So first of all, don't give big speaking tasks. Start with short speaking tasks, okay? Use familiar context, maybe school context, community context, classroom context, and so on. Allow planning time, not just push the student, go and speak. Give some time for them to think over. Encourage mistakes. By the way, I can speak about, I am afraid there is no time, but I had an approach to mistake back in 90s when I observed that our students are afraid of making mistakes. And what did I do? If I left time, or if you have questions, I can speak about the way how I found the approach to dealing with mistakes back in 90s when there was no internet, no extra literature to tell me about how to do it, but I did it well. Okay, so this is any questions regarding action plan research? Not now at this stage, but during the break you can come and ask me anytime. Yes, and I provide links that you can ask me later on. So another research approach is, do I have time? Should I finish? Okay, let's go quickly, okay? So lesson study, you know this one. So it's a collaborative teaching approach. It's another approach, but most of you also know, so I will not speak much of it, but it has also studies, but it's a more structured approach, yes? It's study, so you need first to study the issue, you need to plan, you need to teach, and finally you need to reflect. But you do it collaboratively, okay? I just found this slide and I liked it. You know, how teachers use in the United States, for example, yes? Fine. Look here. Choose curriculum, plan lesson collaboratively, watch. It goes down. And Japan. Lesson study derived from Japan. This is how Japanese teachers do it, yeah? They work more collaboratively and less individually. And why collaborative is good? Because you learn from each other. And what happens in our classrooms? We usually close. Ой, я закрою, пусть они не увидят. Вдруг они увидят, что у меня так хорошо получается, а потом станут лучше меня преподавать. Open your doors, open your hearts. Don't close the doors. Work collaboratively. Learn from each other. So just comparing inquiry approaches, you can find. I think that I will share the slides, you can use them and see how these two approaches are different. Impact. This is the most important. What is the impact of these two approaches? Lesson study and action plan. First, it's an impact on teachers. Second, it's an impact on schools. And it's an impact on education system. As you said, your small contributions can make big changes in the educational system. And there are 5 examples that I provide here in the slide. I will not stop now on them. Different inquiry projects that you can immediately start, any of you, in your classes. One is increasing student speaking participation. I think everyone wants it. Another, improving vocabulary retention. Go ahead. supporting writing with AI tools, project-based learning, and supporting multilingual learning. So these are just some of these strategies. And there are some future directions you have to think over. And now artificial intelligence is here. Whether we want it or not, it is here. Мы должны с ним считаться, правда? Что, вы не можем проигнорить, закрыть глаза, как сразу сказать, я спрятался. Нет, искусственный интеллект здесь, и мы должны что-то с ним сделать. И студенты используют его, хотим мы, не хотим. А поэтому мы должны принять какую-то политику, научиться использовать его этически, правильно и верно. And my conclusion and my key takeaways are: the most powerful educational research begins in the classrooms with you, dear teachers. And those who teach this, you will become innovators, you will become creators, you will become reflective professionals, you will become contributors to educational change. Do you want to become such people? Definitely yes. And that's why I wish you to become contributors. I wish you to become stars. I wish you to reach your stars and become star teachers. And remember, I bring this quote by Benjamin Franklin: tell me and I forget, teach me and I will remember, involve me and I learn. So be involved in research and be stars. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sulshash. Very insightful and incredible story, speech, how to implement teacher research and teaching practice. And the next speaker is Francois Harris, Dr. Francois Harris, as an English language fellow at Kokshetau University, but he's coming from the US via the US Department of State program. Thank you for support and coming to our conference. His topic is reciprocal learning in the EFL classroom, how culture, curiosity and student voice transform engagement.
Maybe I can just speak with my natural voice.
The program which Dr. Francois is participating is the specialist coming from the US to Kazakhstan for 10 months fellowship. So the specialist come to Kazakhstan and works for 10 months at the local university.
So I'll use this microphone so we don't waste time. Excuse me. So as was said before, my name is Francois Harris. I'm from the United States. I've been teaching EFL for about 18 years. First in France, 15 years in Korea, and now I'm here in Kazakhstan. Very happy to be here in front of all of you. Thank you. My presentation today is about culturally relevant education and reciprocal learning. I love to use this approach or this teaching strategy because I think it helps students to be more active participants in class instead of passive spectators. So I'm really big on student-centered learning, so I really believe wholeheartedly in this learning approach. Oh, I guess I'm responsible for moving my own slides. So I would like to start with a question. When is the last time you let your students lead the class? Take a couple of seconds to think about it. When is the last time your students lead the classroom? Think you finished? Good. I don't know how this is supposed to work. There it Okay. So culturally relevant learning, have you heard of this before? Anyone know what this phrase is? I'm sorry? Yes, what is your guess? Very good. So learning is connected to the student's culture. I always like to think of culturally relevant learning as students being able to see themselves in the learning process. Reciprocal learning. What does this mean? Collaborative learning. Yes. Anything else? Information or knowledge flowing in both ways. So the teacher is just not the main agent of information. The teacher teaches or delivers information to the students, but the students also deliver information to the teacher, which is one of the main reasons why I am here. I am also here to share American culture, but I'm also here to learn Kazakhstani culture from all of my students. I have a problem with Kazakh or Kazakhstani. Holidays. So I was teaching about American holidays, but I was thinking of a way to teach this topic without focusing specifically on the United States. I wanted to make the class more interactive for the students. I wanted to teach about this man, Martin Luther King Jr. But I didn't tell my students his name or anything about him. I just showed the photo to my students and said, by the end of this class, by the end of this lesson, you will have some information about Martin Luther King Jr. So again, how can I teach this topic without making it only about America? Leadership. I decided to make the class about leadership. And what makes a good leader? I asked my students, so what do you think makes a good leader? And they said things like good values, being able to galvanize people to follow them, taking responsibility, things like this. And then I told them about Martin Luther King Jr. This is now when I introduced him to the class. I said, Martin Luther King Jr. is a speaker. He's also a civil rights leader in the United States. And then I did something I usually don't do in all of my classes, but because I'm talking about MLK Jr., I thought this was very relevant. I asked my students to connect what they see here in the photo with me, so it can give them some kind of concrete understanding of what the lesson is about. They can connect new information, which is what they're learning now, to old knowledge, what they've seen in the past. So I asked them to make a connection, make a comparison between the photo and me. They said, oh, Martin Luther King Jr., he's African American, he has the same nose as you, he has the same skin color, but you're more handsome than him. Yeah, tough crowd. And then I asked them, what other things in this photo do you recognize that would make MLK Jr. a good leader? Like, please pay attention to the photo. And they said, wow, the way he speaks, his body language when he's talking in front of the podium. There are many people around him listening. I said, very good. Then I told them some information about MLK Jr. I said, of course, he's a civil rights leader. He was very active. He was very active during the 1960s, during segregation in the United States. He also implemented a policy of non-violent action. And I asked students to explain, what is non-violent action? They said non-violent action is when you try to solve problems without using violence. So I said, yeah, that's good. And the next question, can you think of any good leaders from your culture? And I've done this lesson before in France, I've done it in Korea. So usually, if I'm in Korea, my Korean students will say, Sejong Daewon. or Sejong the Great, sorry. Sejong the Great, and I would ask him, or ask my students, who is Sejong the Great? They would tell me, Sejong the Great, he's one of the most famous leaders in Korean history. He was the 4th king of the Joseon dynasty. And I asked them about the Joseon dynasty, they gave me information. They also told me Sejong the Great is responsible for the written text of the Korean language. Wow. Students just taught me information that I didn't know. This is reciprocal learning. François Mitterrand. He has a great name. He's named after me. François Mitterrand. In France, I asked my students, why are you telling me about François Mitterrand? They said, oh, he was one of, or actually the longest serving presidents in French history. He also implemented a lot of changes for workers, social changes for workers in France. So he made the working conditions of all workers in France better. Wow, information I didn't know. My students are teaching me. This reaction is exactly what I wanted. This is cultural relevant learning. I'm sorry, I'm going to try to pronounce his name to the best of my ability. Don't judge me. Abai Kunabayali. Yeah? I was actually practicing this name for a long time. I'm glad that I got it right. My Kazakhstani students told me he was one of the great figures in Kazakhstan's history as far as literary compositions. And I have a class full of girls, so they told me about Tomanus. I had no idea about this historical figure. I asked them to explain to me about Tomanus, and they said, she defeated Cyrus the Great. I had no idea. I didn't know who defeated this great emperor of the Middle East. So I learned from my students a great part of history that I didn't know before. The students became the teacher. I was the learner, and now my head is full of a lot of new knowledge that I didn't have before. And students are now active participants in class, not just passive spectators. So here is a small activity you can do. Not with a partner or anything, just something that you can consider in your head as you're moving forward. What is one small change you could make this week to connect your lesson more closely to your students' lives or experiences? I think when students really engage themselves in the class using what they've learned from life, they can participate a lot more and they can be happy in the learning process. And next question, we all have that one quiet student, I know I do, I have tons of quiet students who sit in the back, they don't want to participate, they don't raise their hand, they're on their phone the whole time. So what might happen if they truly felt seen in your class? What if we asked the students questions about their life experiences to make them come out of their shell, to make them share more of their experiences? How would that change their learning environment, or how would that change how they look at education? Finally, when students see their culture reflected in the curriculum, they don't just learn more, they participate more. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Francois, for your insightful presentation and culturally relevant presentation with our great figure. And the next speaker will be connecting online. Elena Balel, Professional Development Manager at Oxford University Press, and her presentation entitled Connect, Learn, Grow, Supporting Early Career Teachers Through Purposeful Professional Development. We have, yes, she will be connecting online from Turkey, and Elena, do you hear? Are you here? Do you hear us?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. We also can hear you. Сәлеметсіз бе? Elena, you're online. Many teachers in Astana are watching you.
Wonderful. So I can start, right?
You can start.
Wonderful. Well, hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. As you can see, my talk is titled Connect, Learn, Grow. And it explores, just a second. And it explores how early career teachers can be supported as they begin their professional journey. My hope is that more experienced and seasoned educators will also benefit from the talk. I'd like to share 3 messages with you, which I believe can make a real difference to teachers' confidence, well-being, and long-term growth. I also believe that the first years in the classroom shape a teacher's identity long-term. They're very exciting, but also overwhelming. New teachers juggle with planning, behavior management, new curricula, technology, and a constant pressure to improve. Many teachers want to grow, but they often don't know where to start or who to ask. And that leads me to the first message. It is connect. Teaching is a community effort. You cannot do it alone, and you shouldn't have to. Support, confidence, and motivation grow through connection. Some of the most powerful learning happens when teachers connect with each other, asking questions, observing colleagues, sharing success stories, and reflecting on challenges together. These moments, big or small, help teachers stay motivated, build confidence, and ultimately stay in the profession longer. When teachers connect, they grow faster and they grow stronger. This is why communities of practice can be a powerful tool. And they don't have to be formal. They can be as simple as a meaningful conversation in the staff room or a quick reflection shared after a lesson you've just taught. They can also happen when you attend an ELT conference like this one today. These moments of shared energy and inspiration remind us that we're a part of something much bigger. And don't miss this ELT online conference organized by Oxford University Press. It's this next week, at the end of the week, on Thursday and Friday. Don't worry about taking photos or screenshots if you're online. I will share a handout with links to all resources and tools that will be mentioned in this talk at the end of the session. And of course, communities of practice can also be online, such as the Exchange from Oxford University Press. It's a place to ask questions, share ideas, to stay connected with educators and researchers beyond your school, internationally and globally. You are very welcome to join it. My next message is learn, but be selective and intentional about learning. Teachers today face an overwhelming amount of content, videos, blogs, courses, social media, and more. The challenge is not access, but choosing wisely what is relevant, reliable, and practical. I'd like you to take a moment individually to reflect on your beliefs about professional development. I will show you 3 statements about PD. Think how you feel about them and choose a number for each statement, where 1 means you strongly disagree and 10 means you strongly agree with the statement. Ready? I find it hard to find the right content to learn from. Have a think. Where are you on this scale? Assign it a number, a score. Professional learning can be time-consuming. Decide on a number for yourself. It is difficult to stay up to date with the current ELT trends. If any of the statements caused you a bit of anxiety or made you feel like professional development can be a daunting task, I hope in the next slides I will make you feel more positive about your learning journey. Because professional learning does not need to be complicated or time-consuming. In fact, most effective professional development is often small, focused, and immediately useful. This is why we've created bite-sized learning modules at Oxford University Press. They are short, flexible, evidence-informed courses full of ideas you can apply right away in your classroom. For early career teachers, such modules build confidence quickly without adding overload. For seasoned educators, they will serve as reassurance of what you're doing well already and offer additional practical ideas and tips. Here are some examples of how these learning modules look like. For example, self-directed professional development in practice could be a first step. A wide variety of topics also includes classroom management for young learners or pre-primary English and many more. You can also stay updated with resources like the Talking ELT podcast. It's a simple way to keep learning during a commute from school home or on a coffee break. And tools like our professional development assessment rubric can help you choose the right activity at the right moment. When we choose PD activities wisely, we avoid overload and gain confidence in our professional decisions. For example, these are 3 professional development activities I'm personally very interested in, but I have a very busy schedule. I work full-time, I go on business trips frequently, I have a 2.5-year-old son waiting for me at home, and I'm a passionate equestrian. Most of the time, I have to choose between what I want to do and what I can do for my professional development. If you ask me to rank these activities, my top picks would be an MBA program. But let's see what the rubric will tell me once the math is done accurately. Unfortunately, regardless of how I feel about these 3 activities, the obvious choice right now is not an MBA program. Even if I managed to sort out the financial side of this rather costly undertaking, I have to say, and even if I followed my heart and enrolled as a graduate student, the reality is that my current professional and personal commitments most likely would lead to overload. And it would mean PD burnout, serious time management challenges, and eventually my dropping out from the program. Remember that owning your growth doesn't mean doing everything. It means doing the right things at the right time. And finally, one of the most empowering ideas for us today is this: you can shape your own development. Grow is the final message I want to leave you with. Growth is not something that happens all at once. It is something teachers build gradually through intention, reflection, and the right support. For early career teachers, growth often looks like small steps, trying out a new idea, experimenting with a new strategy, learning from a colleague, or simply reflecting on what worked in their lessons today. And importantly, growth is personal. Each teacher develops at their own pace, and that's not only okay, it is healthy. Oxford University Press's reflection worksheets, like the one I've just shown you, come from the self-directed professional development position paper. They can guide your reflection process and help you understand your needs more clearly. We also have many more focus papers on our website. They're short, just about 2 pages, and give you quick bite-sized insights on a range of topics. And if you ever want to have a deeper dive, we also have our position papers. These go into much more detailed and are around 35 pages long. All offer practical classroom ideas and are free to download. So what can you do tomorrow? If you ask me, try one bite-sized learning module. Even 10 minutes of focused learning can spark a new idea or help you solve a small challenge. Join a community or conversation, whether in school, at a conference, locally, online. Connections remind us that we are part of a wider supportive profession. I'm a strong believer that small steps lead to meaningful progress. To summarize, connect because teaching is a community effort. Learn because small intentional steps build real confidence. And grow because we are capable of so much more than we realize. And as you walk back into your classrooms, I would like you to remember, the courage to keep learning is one of the greatest gifts you give to yourselves and to your students. If you'd like to explore any of the ideas or materials or resources that I've mentioned today, please scan this QR code and you will be able to download a handout with hyperlinks so it stays with you always at hand. I'll give it a minute. This slide deck will also be shared with you so you can access this QR code at any time if you don't scan it right away. And thank you very much for your time. I hope these 3 messages, connect, learn, grow, will support your path towards a confident, sustainable, and inspiring future in our profession. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Elena. We actually have in Astana special interest group for English teachers, and one of the special interest group is called we actually had arguments how to call it better, young teachers or new teachers. So young teachers sounds like, why only young teachers? Why young? We can call new teachers. But from Yelena's presentation, I think we have a new idea how to call that SIG group. Maybe we will rename it as early career teachers. So thank you so much.
I really like how you defined it, because we can start teaching at any age if we got the right skills and education. So I feel like it's a very sensitive, diplomatic and correct way to put it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Elena.
Thank you very much. It's a great to be with you today. Have a wonderful, productive conference.
Thank you. And the next speaker represents the TOEFL organization and ETS, Anna Gutkovska-Zayas, the Regional Director of Eurasia and Central Asia Department, and her topic will be on inclusivity and fairness as a validity issue. Anna?
Thank you so much for the warm introduction. Okay, so I'm waiting for my slides, right? I can only click here. One moment. Technology might be sometimes an issue, right? Okay, it's here. Okay, so thank you so much. Let me tell you a little bit about myself before we start with inclusivity. I believe that you are all enjoying the sessions today. I think they are interactive, they are inspirational, and do you have still power and energy to be here with me today? Okay, thank you so much. So I know that's like a lot of information and a lot you need to digest, but I think that if you are here, it means that you are motivated to learn. And sometimes learning starts with small steps. So I believe that my presentation will also inspire you maybe to reflect a little bit more on your strategies, on teaching, on inclusivity. So this is the aim of the presentation. But that is, let me also tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Anna Gutkovska-Zayas. Do you know where I'm from? What country I am from? Any ideas? Poland, yeah, yippee. Anyone who has ever been in my country? Any? Okay, great, a couple of visitors. Okay, so now you know that whenever you are thinking about visiting Poland or you will be maybe coming for any research programs, you know that you have already one friend in Poland, okay? So I can be your host, so always remember that I can be, be with you, and I will be really happy to see you in Poland and show, Warsaw or Polish office. So basically, I'm like regional director at ETS Educational Testing Service, overseeing currently the regions of Eurasia and Central Asia, and indeed, as it was said, we are the creator of the TOEFL test. I have some teaching background, but I can say I am not like a young teacher, I am like a retired teacher. Because my professional started with English language teaching, then I had an opportunity to start working at ETS, and my journey with ETS is ongoing till now, because I've been with the company for 16 years now. So sometimes when I'm hiring new people, they are asking, oh God, 16 years, how can you be with one company, right? But I think it's the same with your profession as English language teachers. If you are enthusiastic about teaching, if you love your profession, I think this is the way how it works, right? So you want to grow and you want to develop and stay within the profession. And now, before we dive into the inclusivity, let me tell you a little bit about ETS, Educational Testing Service. We are the organization rooted in the educational research and measurement, and we do this primarily through testing. Do you know TOEFL? Okay, so this is the right company. So we are the creator of TOEFL. So the main headquarters is located in the US, in Princeton, in New Jersey, and this is like a heart of ETS. My office is based in Poland, right, and we do the outreach activities in many, many regions. You might know Szolfan Yergelevna or Daria Nelidova. Those are our employees of ETS, you know, based in Kazakhstan. So I know you might, the names might ring a bell. So anyway, ETS is the one who creates the assessments, who is doing a lot of educational research. So on a yearly basis, you can't imagine, we administer around 50 million assessments. 50 million assessments per year. That's a great number, right? Really a lot. So we stand behind TOEFL, but also TOEIC or GRE tests. So this is like a really, I think the information in a nutshell, what you should know. ETS, a research-driven organization, the leader in the testing and measurement. Now, also let me tell you about a very important thing here, because ETS, as I said, we are, you know, rooted in educational research. We are the leading worldwide organization working with the governments, with the ministries of education. And before we dive into, you know, inclusivity, I wanted to share, like it was like yesterday working on the slides, I copied a couple of, you know, posts from LinkedIn. So I think some of you might already be aware that there's like a contract signed between ETS and State Test Center. So together, ETS will be training the specialists from Kazakhstan, and together they will be working on, as you might see, on, you know, designing and developing Kazakhstan new admission insight test, which is like a significant milestone here in Kazakhstan towards, you know, making sure that the tests are also, you know, adapted to the current, you know, population, to the current, you know, students. So on the right side, you might also see a little bit more of information. So this is also what ETS is doing, working with the ministries of education on improving standards or on implementing new standards, and also on training, you know, the researchers, local researchers in the countries, so that they have the right knowledge, skills, and abilities to perform and improve the, you know, the assessments nationwide. So this is like a little bit about who we are, what we do, and what we, you know, represent. But on inclusivity. So today I'm going to focus a little bit on inclusivity, what it means, what it stands for. Then we will touch base on, you know, fairness in the context of inclusivity, and a little bit more about universal design for assessments. When I am, let's say, imagine, okay, I'm asking you, what is inclusivity in English language learning, assessment? What are the words, keywords that come to your mind? What does it mean to be inclusive in the English language classroom? Can you repeat?
Anybody can be part of the classroom.
Okay, what else? What? Engagement, right. Trying to have students engaged. What else? Yeah, differentiation, right. So this is, you know, the main keywords that when we are asking teachers what inclusivity means, they say accessible, right? Clear, authentic. What else can we see? Strengths-based, for learning, enabling, opportunities, right? Variety, diverse, equally accessible. So this is what you mentioned here. So this is the notion of inclusivity. So now let's also have a look at the standard definition of inclusivity. What does it mean for, you know, for the English language learning or assessment to be inclusive? So basically, design and use of fair and effective assessment methods and practices that enable all, right, everyone, that enable all students to demonstrate to their full potential, right? So this is, we really don't want to put everybody in the same basket, but we can really work on making sure that everybody has the same chances to succeed. So inclusive assessment design provides all students with equal opportunities to demonstrate what they can and what they know so that we can measure the achievements. So this is inclusivity. Then, when we talk about inclusivity and fairness in the context of assessment, we can distinguish three main principles when we think, okay, how we can make the assessment inclusive. So basically, for the assessment to be inclusive, it needs to be fair. It needs to include the fair content. Then we need to make sure it avoids the unfair content and it represents diversity. So this is the idea about the test to be fair, that we are measuring what we are supposed to measure and the test is for everyone. And then it comes along with the different students. I know that many of you, probably also you have some experiences from your, when you were students, you had different teachers and now you are teachers and you can see students are changing, right? Sometimes they are not the same students as they were 10 years ago. So students are changing and I'm really glad that now more and more is said about, different, barriers. Different things that as teachers we should take into consideration. So I know that you're pretty much aware about cognitive skills, right, about psychology, etc. But when I was, a student and I studied English language philology, okay, we were, taught about, different methods and psychology, but when I remember at least my own teachers, in high school, I had like one English teacher, so the only thing I remember was that the teacher was all over the year allergic to trees. All the time with the tissues, behind the desk, no movement, nothing, only grammar, and that was all. No working in pairs, no project work. So I'm really glad that it is changing, and I'm pretty sure you are using the variety of methods. So anyway, when we are thinking about inclusivity, it's associated with the students, with how they learn. Do we know how they learn? What are their learning abilities? Do we take into consideration the learning barriers, right? They might have some emotional barriers. Some of you said, okay, some students might be shy, right? Some students are suffering from dyslexia. There are different things that we should keep in mind when we think about inclusivity and making sure that all students, regardless of their background, their religion, the abilities they represent, the different styles of acquiring knowledge and skills, it's really important to make sure that we can adapt. And again, I think sometimes, oh God, poor teachers, right? Because we are thinking, okay, now it was said a lot about research. Do the research. Now do this, do that. Think about inclusivity, how we can make sure that, everybody fits, and how can we make sure that everybody in the classroom finds something, interesting for them. And then how we create the assessment to be inclusive. I know it's like a challenging task, right? I think sometimes it's a headache. I come from the family, that we had a lot of teachers in Poland, and my mom was German language teacher. So I saw that each year there's more and more, and I feel that sometimes you can also feel overwhelmed, probably, right? With the number of tasks, admin tasks that you need to do. So I don't want to put the pressure on you. Okay, now, let's focus on inclusivity. But anyway, what I want to highlight and show you is that sometimes it can start with small things. And I think sometimes a small step means a big change. Sometimes as a teacher, you can maybe adjust something, introduce a little bit adjustment. Or you can think about how I can remove the barrier for the student. And a good example is my daughter. I will tell you about my daughter, who has a special needs, I would say. She's a smart girl, but I noticed she's facing some problems, and I really paid a lot of attention to discuss with psychologists to check what's the problem. And it appeared she's a kind of slow learner, and she's very sensitive. She's like neurosensitive kid. So when she's sitting in the class at the assessment and the kids are talking, she's very easily distracted. So when we are practicing at home, for the assessment, she's performing very well. But in the class, she's very poor. But I noticed that some of the teachers are trying, to adjust, to remove some barriers. And sometimes it's something very small. They are not changing the assessment in a way just to fit, my daughter. Because it's not about, bringing special advantages to the specific student. But it's more keeping in mind, okay, maybe I can motivate the student more, right? Maybe it's not his fault that he's bad at grammar. Maybe he's suffering from dyslexia. Maybe she's like having some emotional problems. And I think this picture demonstrates it in a good way. So on the left side, you can see a couple of boys, same classroom, same grade, but you see they have different, maybe some of them is facing problems. There are like some disabilities sometimes, some special needs. So this is, equality. One size fits all. Same instruction, everybody put into the same box. But on the right side, you might see the equity. Each gets what they really need to succeed. So with my daughter, it is, like a small adjustment. The teachers are giving her 5 minutes more. And you can't imagine, since we implemented it for my daughter, she's so happy that she gets 5 minutes more, because otherwise she's not able to, finish all of the tasks. And she comes and is saying, oh, Ma, my maths teacher is giving me some additional time, only 5 minutes, and I'm unable to finish the tasks. Or some of the teachers, since my daughter sometimes is having problems with the complex questions, even at the English tests, she can't understand what it is about. So teachers are asking, Anietka, do you understand the question? And they give her some instructions. So she's really motivated to perform well. So basically this is, what the inclusivity is about. So I will encourage you also to read a little bit more about UDA, Universal Design of us for Assessment. But basically the content needs to be fair. We need to make sure that we put, we keep at the back of our head the specific needs of the test takers. And then, as I said, sometimes it can be help the test taker extend the time, read aloud. You can sometimes adjust the question type. You can make the instruction in your assessment like a more clear, or put into smaller, sentences so that students can, understand well. I will encourage you, to visit our booth, ETS booth at, where Scholfan is, so you can talk more with us, about TOEFL test, about, special also, assessment, and how we also accommodate the test takers with specific, needs or disabilities. So as the creator of the test, like TOEFL, GRE, or TOEIC, we also need to keep in mind that we also need to adjust. And we need to make sure that everybody is treated in a fair way, that everybody has the same chances to demonstrate. So this is my, the key takeaway. Please think about your students in this way. Is there like any small change I can implement? Because you are not only teachers. I know that you are superheroes. To summarize, I always admire teachers. You can change people's lives, you can change your students' lives, and sometimes it starts only with a small change. Sometimes it can be only a smile, a good word that you give to your students, saying, okay, you can do it, right? And the same applies to English and all of the assessments, all of the subjects. So thank you so much, it was great pleasure, it's great pleasure to be here, and thank you, and fingers crossed.
Thank you so much. I agree that our teachers are indeed superheroes. Because from this year they're also required to teach any subject lessons. Teachers, they should teach inclusively. So it doesn't matter which subject you teach, so you should be inclusively teaching all of them. So that's why I think this presentation was super helpful for them. And the next speaker also will be inclusively fair. I will not say young teacher, but I will say early career teacher, which is a graduate from the Akim, the mayor's grant from Astana. He graduated using the scholarship of Akimat of Astana. Ulan Bazarbekov, this English language teacher from this school, 111. Ulan? And you want me to say this? Okay. And his presentation is entitled Navigating the Path to Future Success.
To the Explainer. Today we're diving into My Way, a new educational platform out of Kazakhstan. Right away, it kicks off with this powerful promise to guide students directly to their dream careers. I mean, it's a huge challenge, right? My Way says it's the answer. A personal advisor for every student. It creates a personalized development plan, a structured path from 5th grade all the way up to 11th. This whole journey is broken into 4 distinct stages, and each one has a very clear goal. Okay, but how does it actually work? Let's peek under the hood at the technology behind it all. It's all built on modern tech. We're talking real-time data and some pretty smart AI integration. A big piece of the puzzle is connecting everyone, teachers, parents, and of course, the students. And check this out. This bit of code uses AI to auto-generate weekly progress reports for parents. And it's not just about grades. It has an AI psychologist to monitor a student's well-being. Here's how that works. The students' chat messages are actually analyzed by this function right here. Basically, the system looks for patterns. If a student's mood is consistently low, it flags it for attention. So all this data, academics, mood, you name it, it all comes together in the student's portfolio. And this is what you get, a full dashboard that tracks everything from grades to personal skills. The profile even visualizes specific skill levels, making progress really clear and easy to measure. So you see, My Way is way more than just an app. It's an entire ecosystem built around the student. It really makes you wonder, what if every single student had a smart, personalized map for their future? Well, today we're diving into My Way, a new educational.
Okay, hello everyone. Wow, what's an amazing atmosphere here. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ulan and I'm the English teacher, young teacher. And today I want to introduce my project, My Way. Before you watch my project about to choose the right professions in the future, it will help every students, and we start at this school like the pilot project now. And after the conference you can come, I will understand how it works, and if you have the question, but now I wanted to say about how I got the idea to make it, to create it. Okay, 3 functions, 3 keys to influence in my life to create this project. First, pain. Second, problems. And the third, it was a solution. First, pain. In 2021, I graduated college, then I started to study at Astana International University. I received the full scholarship from the Astana, from the Akimat of Astana, and I started to study there. Then in 2023, I got the chance to study at the Poland, in Adam Mickiewicz University. It's a wonderful university, and I met a lot of the friends from the different country. And in one day, my friend from Spain asked me, Ulan, why a lot of students in the exam, they cheat? And I answer, absolutely, everyone wants to get the good marks, Then she started to continue like, okay, if they want to get the good marks, then why they choose this profession if they do nothing? Wow, it was a pain for me, and I saved this information in my mind. Then I came to the Kazakhstan. It was a pain, and I started to work after graduating. I started to work here, this school, and I had a chance to speak with 10th and 11th grade of students about the future. I started a conversation about the future, like where you want to study and what's the profession you will choose, and they answer me like, I don't know, my parents choose my profession and I don't care about it. Someone said me like that. It's a problem. And I'm like young teacher, have the more motivation, I wanted to fix it. And I looked for a lot of the solutions, I made a lot of the experiments, I made the test with the artificial intelligence, but I understand one thing, test and the other thing, it doesn't work. Like, because if morning you will pass the test, you will get the result. In the evening you will pass this exam, this test again, you will get different results. And I create the platform, website, where I integrated artificial intelligence, database, Firebase, Google base, and then ecosystem. Ecosystem, parents, teacher, and students. These three parts can connect each other and will work in Y way. It's my way. Okay, thank you. If you have the question, I will answer your question after this conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ulan. Hopefully we'll have even more such early career teachers in our SIG special interest group for new or early career teacher as one. And the next speaker, we are very honored to have as the next speaker Mr. Jonathan Ferreira, the Director of Spectrum International School. And his presentation will be about what we can learn from international language learning.
Hello. Good. Thank you very much. So, just a brief bit about me. I know that I'm the one standing now between you and lunch, so I won't take too much of your time. I don't want to be eaten myself. So, I have over 20 years experience in international education and education from England, where I'm from originally. I'm going to share some of what I've learned, from those experiences in different schools, in different countries, in different contexts. I won't go into too much detail. I know it is just before lunch, so I will just summarize some of those key things. And again, if you have questions you want to ask, I'll be very, very happy to do so. I would like to start with a quote. And I just, for 1 minute, I will keep it very brief, I would like you to discuss with the person next to you what this quote means for you. So just 1 minute, and I will ask a couple of you to share, if that's okay. I know just before lunch, people don't want to talk anymore, but give it a go.
Maybe it's about communication.
About communication? Interesting point. Can you expand on that? Okay, I like this way of thinking about it, communication between parents and the different teachers. That's one way. Any other thoughts?
Students try to speak the way teachers speak.
Mm-hmm.
They use the words they speak and have the whole vocabulary.
Good, thank you. I like this. I like just hearing the way you are thinking about this topic. So this is the main point. One more, and then I will share my thinking on this too. Yes?
So everything is given by the language. So there is all the knowledge, all the subjects have specific language, and which we use. For example, math teachers, they use their language, right? And that's why they have their own language to teach. And us teachers, we have our own languages. So that's what I got.
I like this point a lot. I think that this is very important for us. I know it may be hard because most of us in this room are teaching English, but if we consider in a school, you have a huge number of teachers. You have English teachers, you have your art teachers, music teachers, math teachers, science teachers. All of those teachers have a responsibility for teaching some element of language, whether that's English, Russian, or Kazakh, or another language, but they have responsibility of teaching a language, as well as their subject matter. But also, this quote for me, if you look at the date, 1976. So, for me, this also stands out that people were discussing this in 1976 as well. This is not a new topic for us to think about how best we can teach English in our schools. But it is something there is a lot more research on now, which we can look at, which I'm really thankful to. I have noticed our energy level in the room is dropping a bit, so I'm going to give us a little activity. I'm going to give you some instructions, and I would like you to carefully follow those instructions for me. So the first thing, with the person next to you, if you could clap clap, and then if you can get your ting tang, and then after you've got your ting tang, if you could just put that into your walla walla. I don't see anyone doing what I've asked. Why is no one doing anything I've asked? It's so strange.
What is think time?
I speak fast? Was there some other problem with what I said? Was there some other problem? Was I not speaking clearly enough?
No, we didn't get it.
Exactly. I was using some words maybe you've never heard before. Yeah, exactly. So that's the problem, am I right? So, just to remind you, in your classes, you have a lot of students who have very varying levels of English. Some of them may have no English at all. Some of them may have fantastic English, possibly. It depends on how you group in your schools and how big your schools are. You may have some people with really good level of English. You may have some people in intermediate level. And so, if you are using your normal vocabulary, maybe those people are not understanding every single word you've asked. And it can cause us a problem right at the beginning of our lesson. Right at the fundamental part of giving the instruction. People are not getting what we are giving. So the first point that I think I have found is that from my experience in many different international schools is actually making sure that you have multiple different ways of communicating. I'm not saying translate, because I have seen some schools, and again this is my experience from international schools in different countries, I have seen some schools that translate for the students. And what does that teach us if we are translating for our students? How many of us here have, or if I give my own experience, I have been in Kazakhstan for 2 years, in Astana for 2 years. I have a translator who works with me at work, and they translate everything for me. I don't need to learn Kazakh or Russian because they translate everything. And so I've tried to learn some Russian, and I think I have about 5 words in my vocabulary at the moment, after 2 years. So what does that tell us about translating for our students? Is it effective? No, it's not effective. But there are other ways that we can help them. We can give visual cues. If I wanted you to clap, for example, I could show clapping, and you might actually understand that I wanted you to clap. You can give some visual cues. You know, there are other methods to helping them understand our instructions. But I think it's very important that we understand that. And I wanted, just honestly, amongst us, when you are asked to have conversations with your colleagues, which language do you normally revert to for those conversations?
Because I would like to speak English concerning some situation we speak in our language.
Yeah, exactly. For certain situations, you may divert to your native tongue, to the one that is most easy for you to communicate in. And I think it is natural for us to have those conversations. And again, some of the best schools that I have seen, they have a policy where they allow students to have discussions, not the whole lesson, but you might say, okay, for the next 2 minutes, discussing whichever language is convenient for you, this concept, this idea. And then you're going to tell me in English what you have discussed. So I mean, there are benefits to having these structured discussions in your native language, because it helps you to think. If I asked you to think of a new concept in a different language you're still learning, it limits you a lot. You can only use the vocabulary you've currently got. So it's important as well that we think about how we are structuring our lessons. And I know that taking all these pieces of what we are doing across the school and putting them together, we've heard colleagues this morning talking about that idea as well, but it is important as well that we try to get our subject outside of our classroom, so it's not only in our lessons that they are experiencing it. You know, we don't learn just in little pigeonholed boxes. We don't learn just in those little framed time zones. You know, we need to try and connect to what we are doing in our other subjects. We've heard from our colleagues this morning talking about that idea. But I know that many of you have also been on training about the different methodologies of connecting learning to outside classroom as well. But one of the other aspects that we do in international schools that I think helps a lot, And it may be something you consider in your schools, maybe with your leadership teams as well discussing, but what we do is we try to make sure that other lessons are also in that language. And again, I've been in schools that have very varying degrees of this. Some schools where they say it's 100% English, no other language allowed, which is great, but I think we have to respect the bilingual and trilingual importance of other languages. And so I've also been in schools where they have 50% in the native language, 50% in English, or a mixture of varying percentages. And there is a very important skill that we can teach our students from studying English in another class, in art, for example, or in music, or in science. I know some of your schools do teach science in English. But what I have seen as well, some of the key things that I've seen in international schools that are very effective when you do that are some of these. And I've just put 3 examples on the board. I didn't want to overburden with examples. But one of the very simple things is putting keywords on the board so that the children know what words are coming up. Particularly if it's new vocabulary, it really helps them to get to grips with it. In that example I gave, where I gave some instructions with some random words, it can help. At least you might recognize or be able to sound out those words and have an idea that they're coming. Again, having picture vocabulary as well, in a book perhaps, or on the desk. We call them word maps in some of the schools that I've seen these implemented in. And they can also help children to refer back to a key vocabulary when they're doing writing exercises or when they're talking or group exercises, so they can really help. And the other one that I really found very effective myself from my experience in other schools is having an assessment criteria for how other subjects might assess English in their subjects. It doesn't have to be very, very challenging and difficult. It can be as simple as your teaching staff feel comfortable assessing, but it's just to remind the children that they are always being assessed on their ability in English, whether it's written English or oral English or any other version of that. Is that my time up? Anyway, I will just finish up very quickly. So I won't go into detail with this part because I think most of you have covered this CLIL policies before. But if you have not done so, every year there is an update to this report. There's some research that is carried out around Europe, and they often provide a report that you can read, and it details some of the challenges that have been faced and some of the things that people have done to improve and develop this process. Very worth reading. I think there's a huge amount of evidence that shows that this does have an impact on progress, and you can see here, on average, it's about 10% roughly improvement for our students' grades and attainment, roughly. There are some aspects that are a bit higher and a bit lower, but it's very useful for them. The other one, and this maybe is something that I think is a little bit different in many of the good international schools that I have seen, and it's something we do at Spectrum where I am now, is that we actually divide the English into 3 levels. So, and this is the same, even when I worked in England, actually, in state schools in England, we have maybe 30% of the children that are speaking English at a fluent native level. Even in England, where I worked in inner London state schools, they have a very low level of native students. And I think it's the same for me in Spectrum, and maybe it's similar for you in some of your schools, where most of the students are EAL learners. Yeah? And so to say that you're going to teach all of the EAL learners in the same way is quite a challenge. So, we divide them into the 3 groups. We have one group which is for the high level, the native level speaking students. We have another group which is our EAL group, and then we have a group below the EAL. Because actually, if you're still learning the alphabet, if you're still trying to sound out and build your vocabulary, you're not yet at a level where you can really understand and learn in that language yet, effectively. And the Bells Foundation have done a huge amount of research on this. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but they have created, actually, if I go back, they have created an assessment framework to help identify when a child should not be classed as EAL yet. So that you can look at their framework and it says, if they are in band A, they are brand new to English. They are not yet EAL. They are still learning the foundations, the fundamentals. And really, you shouldn't be putting them back into a mainstream class until they get to level D, which is where they are competent enough to understand the everyday instructions. I'm not saying that will happen in all of our classes, but this is what they have been working on, and it does mean that those children would need extra differentiation or extra support. What we do in Spectrum is we do have a specialist team of people that work with those children, and we do take them out of some of the lessons so they get extra English to build up their competencies at a faster speed so that they can then progress better in class. This is just a sample of their assessment framework that I would have left for you, but you can see them on their website. And I think I ran over a little bit, and I really don't want to stand in the way of you and lunch, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your useful presentation. I think lots of frameworks with which teachers can study and learn, explore later about the CLIL framework and other foundational structures. Dear colleagues, now according to our schedule, we recommend you to go to the rooms with your, bracelets on your hands with different colors. So, and then at 2:30 you'll have, at 2 o'clock you'll have a coffee break provided by the conference organizing bodies. So we recommend you now to go to your rooms.